Okay, and now we really are live for the first time. Hello
Woohoo!
again, Ned.
Hello.
Sorry to all of those helpful viewers out there. My complete apologies. It looks like and now we really are live for the first time. It looks like the problems that we were running into were pretty simple to deal with. I just needed to switch over to YouTube's backup server. Um, I don't know why that mattered, but I switched over to YouTube's backup server and now we are going. So, let's get into it because we are 50 minutes late at this point because technical difficulties are a real hassle. So we have a couple things we want to talk about today. Apple TV. I want to compare it to the Android TV, various devices, and other platforms a little bit, just to kind of give everyone an idea of what we think might be the benefit of going this way or not. Um, and let's see what else. Okay, so we also want to talk about debug logs. And was there anything else?
Um,
I can't remember. Man, I'm so rattled by the tech thing that I I'm so frustrated. Oh well. Anyway, I guess let's get rolling and we'll get started. Let's first we'll talk about debug logs. Sorry everyone, I made Ned talk about this once already,
to no one.
but I guess we'll do it again. So,
Okay.
so Ned, we're talking about debug logs. What are they?
Yeah, this question came to us from Reddit. It was kind of funny because the post on Reddit was like to Nate and Ned. If you read this, because I
Yeah,
guess we probably should have like a little contact box or something, because you have to use Google Plus to leave comments,
yeah.
and that's annoying. But anyways, they wanted to know about debug logs, what they actually contain, and they also had some questions about like what kind of information it contained, if there's privacy concerns. Um, it's actually a pretty fair question if it contains private information or not. It's mostly technical information. It is conceivable that you could get other things out of it. And I'll, well, I guess I'll just dive in and explain what exactly it logs,
Yeah.
and why we asked for it. It's been designed in Kodi, and there's other programs that have similar logs, um, and it collects information. It doesn't go into like your files and your taxes or anything like that. But when you start up, it'll say what operating system you're on, what version of Kodi you're running.
And those are
Um,
easily the two most important things, frankly,
oh
because
yeah,
to some extent, what the debug log really does is it provides our developers a way to repeat the bug that you discovered,
yeah,
and that's absolutely critical. If we can't repeat what you do, then we can't fix it because we won't be able to see the exact code and then change it and test it and see if that
yeah.
fixed the problem. So we need to be able to repeat it, which means we need to know, what platform it's on and what version of code you're running and all of those things.
Yeah. One of the biggest pet peeves I've seen people have, and it doesn't bother me so much anymore because I just asked for a debug log, but is saying current version, that you have the current version, which um, right now that could be like one of three versions.
Yeah.
Like we have actual stable version, which is 15.1, then we have 15.2, which is in testing, and then we also have 16 alpha also being made on a daily basis. So
Actually,
whatever's
that would be
current,
there are probably four then because OpenELEC I think is still based on it might even still be based on 14, like the stable version of
oh yeah,
OpenELEC.
yeah, the stable version of OpenELEC, and that confuses all our Raspberry Pi users too, because all the Raspberry Pi distributions, um, we don't have any direct release, so it always tells them to update
Yeah.
before there's an update.
Yeah, there's not
um,
much to do about that. We've
yeah,
we've talked about it. I don't know. I don't think it's any big mystery
ah,
that we've talked about having our own release. of like OpenELEC, or excuse me, of Kodi for Raspberry Pi and things like that.
Yeah,
It's a conversation we're having, and we've been having for like at least a year. Whether that kind of thing will ever happen, who knows?
yeah.
Um,
And even then, like you could say, "Oh, I'm on the Raspberry Pi," but it doesn't tell us like if you're on the Pi 2 or the Pi 1. And asking for the debug log is a one-stop question for all that information.
yeah, it gets you everything.
And even if you're fairly competent with computers, and maybe you're a programmer yourself, and you look in the debug log yourself, and you're like, "There's nothing in here." It might not literally say something, but it'll give hints, because if it's a particularly tricky bug, then the developers are going to need all the clues they can get. It could be, your issue could be something like there's a controller charging on your computer. This is one of the good ones, because on the surface, when you hear about this problem, it sounds like a poltergeist.
Yeah.
Someone goes and they go, I open up Kodi, and it's just selecting one direction, and the menu is just spinning, and I don't know why. And it turns out, like the dead zones, Kodi is real sensitive, and I think we need to change our dead zones.
Yeah.
Or the controller itself is charging and is actually pushing on it. And we go check in the debug log says there's a joystick attached. Check for that, and that's usually the fix. Stuff like that,
Definitely silly little things. That's actually so. For the last, when was that? Last week or recently, I was showing off Retro Player, and I was saying I just can't get the Internet Archive database to work. It just won't launch games for me. I found out finally yesterday, through a miracle of debug logging and installing a bunch of different versions, that the problem was when I hit the A button on the controller. What happens is Kodi sees the A button, and it hits the A button, and that opens up the add-ons whatever page previewing the game. But then Kodi sees, I don't know, Kodi does some other thing in the background with inputs. It pauses it, or holds the input for a second. It opens that page, and then it shows a release of the A button, which it thinks is a second A button press. so it automatically opens and closes it. Looks just like that. So the only way for me at the moment to actually launch it is to hit enter on the keyboard, which for some reason doesn't have the same effect. So weird. And I guess it doesn't happen to hardly anybody else. So Garrett's still trying to figure out what the heck's going on.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, debug logs are critical for figuring things out. But the reason the guy was asking, and did you get into it? We've talked about this more than once now.
I don't think we've actually talked about the privacy thing yet.
Yeah, so his concern was the debug log shows almost everything you're doing. So like if you do a library scan, then it'll show every video that's added to the library during that scan. And if you do, if you sign into an online application using an add-on or something, then it records that you signed into that application. And so the user was concerned about the privacy implications of all that. Like, do you really want to show off what's in your library, and do you want people to see your login information? And so first we probably need to address the login information. We've done everything in our power to strip that stuff out.
Yeah.
And that was, I don't remember when we did that. It was a while ago.
Long ago it used to actually show passwords sometimes, like a Samba password for a file share.
Yeah.
That would sneak in there, and that was like, oh crap. But they've added a lot of sanitation, I guess they call it, sanitizing the log, where they go in and try to strip out usernames and passwords. And for the most part, it's been a long time since because sometimes you'll see it and you tell the person like, delete your log. But thankfully that hasn't happened. There's a slight chance it could happen like with an add-on or something, but most of the add-on authors are pretty aware of that.
And that's all the people in the forums. They're usually, they're all kind of I don't know if they're friends exactly, but they're colleagues and they're all aware of what each other is doing.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
for example, one of our team members, Rick Phillips, developed a new way of storing passwords
Oh yeah, yeah.
they're not easily discovered.
Yes.
And that's actually that storage method was adopted by a bunch of different other add-on providers, just because it's such a useful way to store passwords, and that keeps it even more private than it was in the past.
Hmm.
So super handy. Also, Renault here says basically he didn't want people to use his Pornhub info. That is also a legitimate reason why people might not want to see us all to see all their stuff.
If your spouse is really clever and wants to find out like what you've been watching, just a word of the wise, like nuke everything. If you've watched something bad, Cody saves a lot of weird little, innocent intending data, but yeah, unless like you've watched some kind of like, I don't know, terrorist training video and you don't want to like be shot by a drone. Like I don't know why you would do that in Cody, but some kind of super sensitive, video that has like in its file name how to rob a bank or something. But even then, it's like people they would still have to connect that to like an identity or a name.
Yeah.
It's conceivable, it's. I think probably the biggest issue is more like maybe possible embarrassment than anything, because I have seen people put stuff on there and it does show a bunch of porn add-ons or something like that, and I'm all like, oh wow, I didn't think he was into that, And
yeah, and that's actually so. One of my responses to that guy. So first of all, the passwords we strip out, but the other thing. When you turn on your debug log and you're preparing to send a log to us, what you should really do is turn on debug log, turn off Kodi, completely exit out, and then turn it back on. That way you get just the startup stuff. You do whatever it is the thing you need to do that shows the error. Then you either log off and grab the debug log from wherever, or you use the debug log add-on, which here I'll show that. I'll show that add-on right now. It's really super easy to use. Assuming I have it installed. Yeah, so let me flip over.
I have no idea what you actually show people, but like sometimes I like pretend I'm looking at it because I know my window is below.
It is. Actually, you need to look to your right.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, there it is. You see it. It's right up there.
Yes.
So you go to programs, and then you go to you either need to get more, or you just go to the Kodi log uploader, and you just hit enter, and it'll ask you like what your email address is, so you can get you can get the link that way, and it'll upload it straight away. It's super easy to use. John Robertson wants to know, why does Pornhub have share buttons on the videos?
Sometimes you see something you want to share.
That is an excellent question. Okay, well, anyway, so that's the debug log. It's definitely a really critical thing for the development of Kodi, and if you have a problem, it'll help you solve it. Turn off the beats while my DJ resolve. Okay, never mind. Anyway, so that's that. Now I want to talk about. I don't know, the big thing I wanted to talk about today, which was the big reveal yesterday of the Apple TV.
Yeah, Apple TV 4, although Apple calls it the new Apple TV, which is very confusing.
Yeah.
Do you know what the new iPad is?
The new iPad?
Is the second generation.
It's called the second generation iPad? Like the big 12-inch one?
No, like the second one they ever made.
Oh.
Like, it was really confusing. Like, they came out with a third generation, and they still called the second generation the new iPad, because Apple doesn't like to use numbers sometimes. It's really confusing.
Except for with iPhones.
Yeah. So it's not officially the iPhone or Apple TV phone, or excuse me, it's not officially not the Apple TV 4, but you'll hear us refer to it as that, because that's like the only logical way to keep it straight.
Yeah. Yeah. So there was a really good, I thought, a really handy little a little excerpt that somebody put in Reddit, where, or maybe it was in the forum, I forget, where they were talking about the features in the Apple TV 4, we'll call it, that that they were looking forward to, and it's funny because one person actually already mentioned one of the ones that I think is really funny, which is universal search. So universal search, HDMI CEC support, and was there anything else? Those sort of were the two big things that kind of connect up with Kodi, right?
Well, and apps now. So we have like a potential way in and better hardware too.
Yeah.
Like the biggest reason we're no longer on Apple TV is because the only jailbreakable version had only 256 megabytes of RAM.
Oh.
And I believe they found out that the Apple TV 4 has like 2 gigabytes.
Yeah, it's some large number.
Yeah, more than enough to run Kodi on.
Yeah.
So it was kind of more of a technical limitation than it was any well, that and the fact that you need a jailbreak.
Yeah. So right. So the question then becomes, why would you use Apple TV versus Android TV, or and this is all assuming we actually get on the Apple TV, which is, I mean, there's no guarantee of that in any way. Like, I don't know. I was reading recently that iOS 9 has support for side-loading apps. Is that a thing? Is that really something that's real?
Well, kind of. It's basically, if before you used to have to actually pay for like a developer membership in order to install apps on your phone without submitting them to the store. And if you did submit it to the store, you also had to pay for a membership. So that was like $100 a year. If you wanted to be able to take source code and install it onto your phone.
Right.
Apple now has waived that, and anyone can actually install Kodi onto their iPhone or iPad if they know how to compile an Xcode. And I don't know if I don't know if the instructions are totally up to date to do that yet with that version of Xcode. Yeah. I think it's still being tweaked or something like that.
So the only requirement that is people have to know how to compile.
Yeah.
Huh.
And it's I always mess up on it, but once you get kind of the hang of it and you've set things up, it's actually not that hard. You don't really have to know how to code, but it's a potential way in, and they've done that on the phones and the iPads, so it stands to reason that they might do that on the Apple TV as well, because basically it helps encourage developers to test apps out before investing into an Apple membership, which is what the Fire TV does too. Which is, a lot of people go, is there a risk of Amazon removing that side-loading ability? And the usual answer is it's unlikely, because that's how people test their own apps.
Wow. All right, that makes sense. So there you go. So it very well could go on there. So let's, for the moment, let's pretend like Kodi will be on the Apple TV.
Yeah.
And compare the features. As far as I can tell, in terms of video playback and at general Kodi usage, there wouldn't be much difference, right?
Yeah.
It's roughly the same speed and everything else as all of those Android boxes out there. I'm assuming the Nexus Player and the the NVIDIA Shield Android TV, there's not going to be a huge gap in use among all those devices, just because Kodi already is, for that level of hardware, pretty lightweight. It's not. I mean, it's not a lot of work to run on those things. ARM is a funny thing, because what was absurd to use a year and a half ago is now no problem at all.
Yeah, it's equivalent to a desktop now.
Yeah.
Benchmarks, and it's nuts.
Yeah. So that's the good news. The one I don't know. I want to say the one really kind of interesting stuff that they're doing now is they're offering something called universal search and CEC. And here's where it gets funny. those are also already in Android TV. The universal search, all you have to do in Android TV is plug into their system, and then all of your content can be categorized and launched directly from the Android TV
Yeah.
launcher.
I think Fire TV is still lagging in that area, but normal Android TV boxes,
oh yeah,
yeah.
I feel like Fire TV isn't even in the conversation anymore. Like
Well, they
it's
might.
so far behind already.
Well, that's the other funny thing. Now that you mention it, because there's all these rumors about the next Fire TV box, because there's only refurbs for sale on their website, and there's like FCC filings for a 4K box. So
Oh,
it's like everyone's gunning for the same thing right around this time of year.
yeah,
It's very funny.
yeah. So all right, so for now we'll keep Fire TV out of it.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
We may readdress that. But so universal search is theoretically possible on both platforms.
Uh-huh.
But to make that happen, one of our developers has to go ahead and actually integrate universal search into Kodi, which I don't know. I mean, it can be
I think
done.
it's like
I've actually looked into it, and it's not necessarily impossible.
yeah,
It's
it's
just
like
something that we haven't done yet.
yeah, it would be like Cody would fill in a database or something like that
Yeah.
of what the available movies are,
Right.
so that search can match it up with words.
My guess is what's probably going to happen. So our two main developers on these platforms are Koying on Android and Memphis on iOS.
Mhm.
And I mean, it's already a foregone conclusion that we're going to get Memphis and Apple TV, just
Yeah.
because. I mean, why
Well,
would
and
why wouldn't we?
one of our past developers who's gone inactive for various reasons
Yeah,
has surfaced again, kind of a sort of a surge of activity around things that seem very related, and he's hinted at it, and that's very promising because that's the developer who created the very first and second Apple TV ports.
yeah,
So we don't know anything for sure. He's very coy about stuff, so he could be just teasing us. But
yeah.
he's like if someone were to crack it, it would be him. So that's interesting.
That's true. So yeah, so lots of interesting developments. But I think that if and I maybe when is probably the better question.
Yeah.
When universal search happens on one of the two platforms, whichever other dev is going to see that and be like, well, I guess I better do it now too.
I think you said once one of the best ways to encourage the devs is to tell them it's not possible.
Right.
Like, oh, no one's been able to do this. It's impossible. And they go, what?
Yes.
I don't think so.
Yes. That's like my trick. My favorite trick to encourage our art guys to do anything is to try to do it myself and demonstrate how terrible I am at it. Because then they see my work and they're like, oh my god, this might actually become something. We better fix it now.
Yeah, this is going to become our new. We're going to print out 50 million copies of this if someone else doesn't replace it fast.
Um, so yeah, so there we go. So at least for those two platforms, I don't know which one's gonna be better at this point. The safe bet is still Android TV, but who knows?
And I got to say, I'm a pretty heavy Mac user, Apple user. All of my smartphones have been Apple. I've got a laptop. I've got an iPad. So yeah, I could be your poster boy, fanboy, whatever. But at the same time, I'm kind of like for pure Kodi usage. I'm not expecting a lot out of it.
Yeah.
What I think will happen is if you are invested into the Apple, I hate to say it, but ecosystem of devices, then an actual native Apple TV is really nice for if you do any of the mirroring stuff.
That's an excellent point. So,
Yeah.
so that's actually my issue right now. So I've got an Apple TV. No, I've got an iPhone, right? An iPhone 6, and the Nexus Player and the Shield Android TV are both really awesome for that because you can use even on the iPhone you can use
can use the
What's that button?
Google Cast or
Yeah, yeah,
whatever.
Google Cast, or it's Chromecast. With those two
Chromecast.
devices, it can actually do all the Chromecast stuff. Like you can
Nice.
send Netflix and everything over, and that's super nice. It's very frustrating because I'd love to have that for like the Raspberry Pi, but I don't think that's in the cards.
There's like third-party implementations of the airport mirroring. Um, and like I've tried them on like the Fire TV and some of the other Android devices, and they're not quite there. Like they always have they're a little buggy or they're a little slow.
Yep.
But you can actually like they show people playing games with the with the AirPlay, which is sending it over Wi-Fi, which creates a little bit of lag. But it's surprisingly playable for some of the games. But you need like the actual Apple's actual implementation of it because the reverse engineered ones so far haven't caught up. They haven't figured out all of Apple's tricks yet for low latency and all that stuff. So it's still something like if you need that, then it's still nice to have it all in one box.
Yeah.
Especially with things like the universal search and stuff. I think that's the biggest issue my parents have, which I always use, and I think a lot of us use as our benchmark, is what our families can use it. And my parents get hung up on which app to go into for what show. And so having that universal search and having everything on one box
That's
is
nice.
really nice. So I think it comes down to things like that, those features, or sometimes there's an app that's not available on one or the other system. So I think for casual use, like you were saying, they're about on par probably.
Yep. Yeah. So super on par. I do want to throw in a plug. We've been spending a lot of time talking about Apple TV and NVIDIA Shield and Nexus Player. I do want to throw in a plug. Two of them, I'm going to say actually. One big difference between the Apple TV and the NVIDIA Shield, not the Nexus Player, is the Shield has HDMI 2.0. And I'm pretty sure the Apple TV is still stuck on 1.4.
Yeah, so they were debating whether or not it could theoretically do 4K,
Yeah.
and I guess it could do it at like lower frame rates.
Yeah, like
but
30 or 24, the
yeah,
Apple TV could.
but it can't do, and that also limits like is 4K 3D a thing?
Yeah,
Maybe.
I don't know.
Because your amount of data, because usually for 3D you're sending twice the data,
Yeah,
so you would be limited in that sense as well.
yeah. Yeah, so that's one big important factor
Shield
to
plus,
pay attention
yeah.
to. The other plug I want to throw out there is just going back to the Raspberry Pi, the Raspberry Pi 2, more specifically, because it's I feel like that's the best example of a native embedded Kodi experience.
Oh yeah,
Because you're not working with Android, you're not worrying about Apple. It's literally you turn it on and you're in Kodi. And in that sense, it also can't do 4K at 60 frames per second. But it can do basically everything else better than almost anything else can. All video playback from a 1080p perspective is simply better on the Pi than almost anything else at the moment.
Yeah, they even have higher quality deinterlacers and scalers now, I think, on there.
Yeah.
And they even have HD audio working.
Yeah.
Not HD audio pass through, but HD audio that converts it to like 8-channel PCM, which in theory should give you indistinguishable quality depending on your receiver. But it's still something that a lot of the more expensive units or more powerful units haven't been able to do, just because the Pi has that immense support and all these people squeezing every little bit of power and ability out of it.
It's really true. The funny thing, so I had a beef with the Pi Foundation for a while, and I think they've kind of we've worked it out. We're all cool now. But there was a period of time where I felt like they were really pushing one of the distros of the organized for what the Pi can do in terms of Kodi video and everything is not any of the distro people. Like kudos to OpenELEC and kudos to OSMC and kudos to all those guys. But the guy that we should all be shaking hands with is a guy named Popcorn Mix,
Who's part of the actual Pi Foundation.
Yeah, who's amazing. That guy blows me out of the water with everything he does with that hardware. He is incredible. So yeah, so I don't know. That guy's great. I just wanted to say that. Greg McKinnon says, "Is the Pi based on OpenELEC?" And I think we just answered that question. The Pi can run Kodi on using a number of different distributions. OpenELEC is one of them, and we tend to use that one, but it's not the only one. There's also OSMC, and I recently found out that the big difference between those two is OpenELEC is not based on Debian. So, I mean, I don't know how much you're going to want to run all those other Debian packages because it's going to be slow and unpleasant.
On a Pi 2, actually, it's gotten a lot nicer. So you can run, you can run some stuff in the background, like, I don't know. I think the biggest thing on a Pi, though, is even on a Pi 2, networking is not very fast. It's fast enough to stream video to the Pi.
Yeah.
But, like, you don't want, like, if your Pi is also managing downloads, or if it's also acting as, like, a live TV recorder, it's going to, and you're watching an HD video at the same time, that you probably hit other bottlenecks first.
Right.
Just because it all uses one USB bus. But for other things, though, it's surprisingly capable. Like launching like a web browser from Kodi now on the Pi is, I mean, it's not like great, but it's usable now.
Okay.
I was really surprised to see that. Because it used to be you wanted to be as bare metal as possible, and the Pi 2 is just really giving it just enough of an oomph to where you can actually use some other stuff and have things running in the background, and it doesn't bring it to its knees anymore. So it's a little better.
Okay, well that's fair. That sounds good, and that makes sense since I know we've talked about this in the past. The Pi 2's ability to play various emulated video games is also dramatically improved.
Yes.
So it would make sense that it can do other things. So there you go. So there's our take on all of those various different products. We mentioned the Nexus player. I don't know if it's still on sale, but that thing was going for $50 really?
Recently. Yeah, with like a coupon. If you just search, like, I think there was a Groupon, and there are some other codes out there.
Yeah.
For the last couple of days, and it's I like to think of it as what I've been recommending to people as a Fire TV replacement, because the big reason why people liked the Fire TV was that it had a proper Netflix client.
Yeah.
If you can use Netflix on the generic Android boxes, but they're usually limited in resolution because of some weird, I don't know, paranoia or something of Amazon, where if you're not using a certain level, or not Amazon, of Netflix, right. if you're not using a certain level of DRM or something like that,
all the way
and you're not on the approved list,
HDCPI or HDCP,
and which is ridiculous because no one's going to pirate a movie from Netflix. they pirate it from some other source and then stick it on the internet.
There's some stuff. Like Netflix original programming.
Yeah, BoJack Horseman. Oh, I love the show. I don't know if you've seen that.
Darn, Renault says no URLs. I don't know what that means. Anyway, BoJack Horseman, excellent example. Actually, I was thinking of Daredevil, but
Oh yeah, Daredevil. Yeah, I finally finished that. That was pretty good.
Oh yeah, did you?
Yeah.
What did you think of the door scene?
The door scene?
The car door scene.
Car door scene.
Car door scene. Man, you are disappointing me right now.
What happened?
That's when Kingpin decides he's really angry at somebody.
Oh, and puts the guy's head in there and uses it like a nutcracker. Yeah, that was brutal.
That was brutal. That was quite a show.
Cool. Yeah. You interrupted my date.
This is what I do.
That was good.
That's a good point. I'd actually, it's tough to decide which of those two I like more, because there are things about the Nexus player that I like more than the Shield TV, actually.
Oh, really?
Specifically for setup purposes. The Nexus player, I think, has a slightly faster CPU. So when you're first scanning your library, at least this is my experience, scanning the library on the Nexus player happens faster.
Oh, that's weird.
After that initial setup, I mean, I feel like Shield TV is just it is leaps and bounds better. But that initial scan is pretty nice on the Nexus player.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
But yeah, if you're looking for a cheaper, because the Nexus or the Shield, as nice as it is a a $200 machine. But if you are looking for an alternative to like a Fire TV box or a Fire TV stick, because the Fire TV stick used to be that $40 price point.
Yep.
Well, now the Nexus player, if you can grab one for the sale price, if it's not on sale today, just keep watching. Refurbs and stuff like that come in. It's still a solid box at around $50 or $60, and that is what I would say is a good entry level now to replace the Fire hardware.
Yep. Oh yeah. See, Renault, who is really involved, is saying that decoding would go to the Shield all the way, which is absolutely accurate, and especially if you're into any kind of gaming, man, the Shield is leaps and bounds better than the Nexus player. One other thing that I highly personally recommend is to get this guy, the Shield TV remote, because of this hole on the bottom where you can plug your headphones.
I can't see what you're doing, but I knew exactly what you were going to talk about as soon as you mentioned that, because that is such a nice feature.
It's so great. It's so good. I love it.
It's such a simple thing too, and it helps so much.
It does. I've been wanting this, like my dream Google Summer of Code. By the way, we got our new Google Summer of Code 2015 shirts in today for the mentors.
What's funny about that is you mentioned that, and then a FedEx package came, and I've got a shirt too, and I forgot my name was on there.
Oh, did you list yourself as an admin?
Yeah, I totally did not earn this shirt, but apparently I have one. I did nothing.
Good job, you. Good job. But the Google Summer of Code project that I really wish one day we could set up, and who knows, maybe it'll happen one day, maybe it won't, is making it possible to stream just the audio out from your TV to your phone running, either the Android remote software or the iOS remote software, or even Yahtzee or one of those projects. So you can plug your headphones in and listen to your TV's audio from your phone's remote software. I think that would be so cool.
Mm-hmm. And it's I think the Shield remote is it using Bluetooth or using the Wi-Fi? It's doing something.
It's using Bluetooth. I've been working with Koying and those guys trying to figure out various problems for the last little while, and it's definitely Bluetooth. It's real weird. The controller that comes with the Shield,
that's the one that's Wi-Fi.
That's Wi-Fi direct, but the remote is Bluetooth 82p. So. So the protocols that go into what happens when you plug your headphone into those two devices, totally different. It's very, very strange, and I'm not really sure why they decided to go that route, because it seems
weird.
Like a lot more software development would have to happen because you do that. But whatever. Is that your dogs or our dogs?
I think that's my dog.
Okay, cool. Okay, I don't know. So we're now at 41 minutes, and I'm trying to keep this under 45. Do you have anything else you want to talk about, or are we good to go for today?
Not that I can remember, probably. I'll remember in an hour from now.
That's definitely what's going to happen. I had a list going before the failure in the software, and now it's completely gone. Got no idea what I wanted to talk about anymore. Should have written it down, but you know how that goes. Mm-hmm. Okay, well, anyway, I think that sounds good. Thanks for chatting, Ned. Thanks for talking, guys. Especially Renault. Let me think. Greg, John, and everybody else. Sorry, I'm gonna miss some of you, but thanks for chatting with us, guys. I don't know. I guess I'll see you next week, Ned.
Yeah, I'll see you next week. One other thing, though, someone asked on the forum where I got my hat, and
Oh,
I guess
yeah.
a bunch of people have been asking about. This is apparently the only Cody hat. A guy on our forum named Pat Sagan, I think I'm pronouncing his name right.
Mm-hmm.
He sent it to us to see if we wanted more hats made. We haven't been able to organize anything yet, but if there's a demand for it, let us know, and maybe we'll work something out. But just a shout out to Pat for making a hat. It was really cool. And I'm the only one that has one.
He is. We're all very jealous of that hat because they seem pretty cool. I'm looking on the forum thread now too, and there are some good questions. Man, every time I don't know how many times to say this to people that we don't make third party add-ons, but once again, we don't make third party add-ons. And for those of you interested in my personal appearance, yes, I did shave my beard this week, so now I look like I'm 15 or so.
You're gonna get carded.
Yep.
Now.
Yep. It doesn't look good. This is not a good look for me, really. But whatever. What are you gonna do? Anyway, I think that's a pretty good way to leave it. Wallet transactions. Oh, that is actually one other thing. We've
Like
talked
in-app
about
purchases.
yeah, we've talked about this in the past. I think it would be super cool if we actually had an add-on in Kodi that let you buy whatever thing that we were currently selling. Wouldn't that be neat? Where you could, like, if we were doing a Teespring thing, you could actually buy the Teespring thing from within Kodi.
Yeah.
Or your hat. Or if we ever did do that sticker exchange thing we were talking about. See, all those would be pretty cool to have an add-on for.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know. Maybe
it would be much cooler than the one Apple showed off of the clothes. Did you see that?
No. What's
There's
that?
like there's an app. They had the person, like the app developer, come out on stage. It was for some clothing app, like some hoity-toity clothing.
Sure.
Like you're gonna spend like some major money, like not cheap clothing, like pricey money on clothing
Rose
through your
gold
Apple
clothing.
TV. Like you're not going to take the 5 seconds to pick up like a tablet or a laptop and order it. No, you're going to do it from the Apple TV. It was the most ridiculous example, but in our case though, it would be related to the program you're using.
Yeah.
And kind of like a tie-in. So that I think that would work.
Yeah, that would be cool. Yeah. Okay. Oh yes, John Robert agrees. That Apple one sucked.
It was really lame.
I didn't watch the press release. I only watched all the stuff afterwards, and I feel like
It's a little nauseating to watch Apple, like, because like I like a lot of stuff they do, but they oversell it so much. They're like, we invented television.
Here's somebody. Min8080 said, I made some stickers for Ned a while back. Are those the stickers that I have on my laptop?
It might be.
Man, I might have your sticker on the back of my laptop.
We've been meaning to get in touch with you. I just keep forgetting because those stickers are very popular.
Yeah, those. Yeah, I would love those. And Renault, man, we're really going over now.
Okay.
Renault says Crunchyroll can use the Kodi backend for monies, like for buying and renewing subscriptions. That's another thing I've always thought would be cool. Like,
yeah.
I want to do it with Rooster Teeth, but that's just because I'm a big fan of them. It would be cool to do with all those things, though. It would be neat to be able to, like, not just log into your Crunchyroll account, but actually register Crunchyroll through Kodi.
Yeah, yeah.
And if they
all
wanted
those kind
to,
of
if they
things.
wanted to kick us back, you know, a registration fee, that'd be fine. I wouldn't say no to that. Yeah, man, it was cool. That's like my favorite sticker on my laptop case, and I'm kind of one of those annoying people that puts 1,000 stickers on his laptop case. All right. Anyway, we're going way overboard. So, thanks, Ned. This has been great. Thanks everybody in the thing. Min, you should contact us on the forum because we love those stickers and we want to make them more. I think that should do it. See you next week.